Hi everyone, my name is Zach.
And I'm Zane. And welcome to the A to Z slash Z squared podcast.
Something like
It's
that, right?
it's it's a podcast.
That's
It's
all it
still
is.
it's still the A to Z podcast, but A is still
A
MIA.
somewhere.
He's A is A. He'll always be great. He'll always be first, but Zach is pretty sweet too. I was
Squeak.
I,
Yes.
I was always below Adam, but
Now you're just below the atom replacement.
yeah, I guess so. I'm just always below. But I'm
Oh.
actually above on the video, so it's kind of like confusing.
Oh, you had to make you feel like a little bit better about yourself.
Maybe I
guess.
should put my image below you.
You just switch now.
Yeah, just like switch so that it shows like rankings of who's
Yeah, right.
important. Like the guest is obviously more important because the guest is bigger, but we haven't had a guest
Yeah.
for a while, so which we'll have soon.
Good,
Prob-
good.
But we're gonna talk about today. Let's get to what we're actually talking about today. We're talking about testing, refining, and preparing for an event.
Yeah, it's very important to get it right.
Yeah. So I would classify this as just basically preparing for an event or preparing for just being ready for an event, even if you don't have a specific. Yeah, that word's always hard for me. Specific event you're going to, just
Yep.
being prepared to be able to like say, oh hey, tomorrow we're going to an event. Like being prepared for that is very good. Knowing the ins and outs of your decks really awesome. And you need to test for that. Like you can't just be like, well, I'm going to some event tomorrow. I'm going to pick up.
Someone hand me
Scred.
some shadows, right? Like
Yeah.
I'll take some Grixis shadows. How do I play this now?
Yeah, or like here's Scred, play it well. You're like,
KCI.
yeah, Casey, man. If I just pick that up for like, you're like, pick this up, play this in a tournament, I'll be like,
All right, GG boys.
all right, got the O2, drop, yeah. So, what is the first step, Zach? When you're gonna get a test,
I guess like choosing the deck, like choosing something that's in your playstyle.
right?
Like I normally start. I play a lot of mid range, so I start somewhere in that range, right? Like somewhere, like a deck in the format that's like that.
Okay. So let's say you're prepping for, well, I don't know. What are you prepping for right now?
Say Worcester. That's the
All
next
right,
event.
all right. SCG Worcester. So
Like,
you're
see?
prepping for Worcester. What the first step is choose a deck. So you chose.
I'm choosing probably four color Leovold or just Leovold deck. Whatever
Okay,
deck
just
abuses him the best.
Leovold plus colors.
Yeah, right. Something like that. Either
Yeah.
four color or just
Yeah.
bug.
Okay.
No,
So
it's just really
that's the
good.
first step, right? You choose the deck that fits in your play style the best. Now,
Yep.
obviously you could play any deck. You could play a control deck, you could play an aggro deck. But if you have the most reps with a particular play style and that play style is good in the format, it's probably best to go with that play style for a large tournament. If
Yeah,
you
it's
want
something
results.
it's something like you just like autopilot just because you're used to playing that type of style.
Uh-huh.
You know how to interact well. You know how to fight well.
Correct. That's where I struggle a little bit because I can't just play like super aggro in
Yeah.
standard, and just because I love affinity and it's super aggro. I've been picking up a little bit of combo lately, and I like
Yeah.
that too. I'm
been
trying to
branched out a
expand my
bit.
range. I'm trying to expand my range. Control is still a little foreign to me, but we're
We'll
getting
get you.
there.
We'll get you there. We'll get you there.
We'll get there. So you chose your Leovold deck, right? And then what was the next step you took?
Jam it. Just play it as much as I can.
Okay.
So like I use Moto for a lot of reasons, like for testing. So I like just play like 3 or 4 leagues already with it.
All right. So when you play these leagues, are you like trying to develop sideboard plans, like general sideboard plans, or just general feel for the deck, or matchup
It's-
dependencies?
It's more for a feel of the deck. Like I'll start with like the base 75 that I see online, and then completely just go from there. When I find I just take like the main 75 cards I get online and just play a lot of games.
Mhm.
I'm just trying to get the best feel of it before I think even about changing a single card in the deck, even if it's a basic land, right? Or changing one of the lands in the deck.
Mhm.
I don't know why they made a deck that way, so I have to learn why they did it and find out their reasoning behind it, or try to figure it out. If I like, in case I don't have time like to read an article, like a primer about it,
Mhm.
and like that's like the best way to start is just by learning why the cards are there in the first place. Besides the fact that it's forceful, you need it, right? Like
Right,
why is only
right.
playing 3 copies or 4 copies or no copies? So I think stuff like that is important
Okay.
and the best way to start when it comes to actual testing.
So I mean, on one angle, the player knows best that developed this deck list.
Right.
Now that deck list is for a different event, so your event's going to be a little different. So you might have to tailor it for your event. But I think to understand the deck to tailor it to the event you're going to, you need to first have reps with their configuration of the deck, because they obviously tested with it for that event they went to, or that article they wrote or whatever. And so there's probably thought behind all those cards and practice behind all those cards. So you at least want to jam it and say that, well, this card doesn't make sense, but let me see. And then through reps, you see, well, that card's actually insane. You can see that. On the other hand, you were talking about how you don't want to change too many things in the long run, right? Because you have like this general deck. So would you just like change it drastically if you didn't like it, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like I'll change it to my liking at that point, right? Like, for example, I'm just using it as a reference. I'm not saying this is true, but like the bug deck had 8 mana dorks in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Played 4 noble, 4 deathrite.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'm like, I don't like all 8, right? I think we just need 4 deathrite. Let's cut the 4 noble hierarchs and play something a little bit different that interacts with what's going on with the format now. Maybe play some more discard main. I'll play some more removal spells possibly. Or like maybe I just like cut like the whole top end of a deck, right? Like if I'm playing a mid-range deck and I don't like the fact that they have 6, 7, and 8 drops in there, for example, I just want to cut it down, like trim some numbers and change the configuration. I don't think like you should ever be set in stone with anything in the beginning of testing. Right. And that's like where a lot of people like mess that up. Where like they get like, let's say mono red burn, and it's like these are decks I can't change anything. I'm like, no, it's okay to change half the cards of the deck as long as there's a reason behind it.
Right. And you said if you have the time, you want to read those primers. You want to read the articles written about the.
Yeah,
where does that come in?
That comes in like I guess if I have free time personally. Okay. Like it's hard for me with like work and everything else I do to actually sit down and read an article and try to pick like their brain. But like obviously if you have some time like traveling to work or like I don't know, just before you go to bed you just like to read something, definitely try to read it because like that's where you can get the most knowledge and find out why they do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think having that, the written or primer type style is just very good for getting a better grasp on it, because you've played some games now and you can get a better grasp on their thought processes for sequences, or why card inclusions are there or exclusions are there, and that sort of thing. So what's the next step after that? So we've played some matches. We played maybe like, let's say 3 to 4 leagues. What would your next step be?
Then I guess I grab a group of friends, right, and do like gauntlet testing.
Okay. Which
the gauntlet testing is you play against like 4 or 5 tier 1 decks in the format and see how you compose against that, because that's how you only know. Like if you're going to like a big tournament like an Open or GP, which is 15 rounds now, you have to learn, like you have to find out if you could beat we're talking about legacy, like Storm variants, Delver variants, Miracles, Death and Taxes, and something else, right? Like
right.
Whatever other combo deck or thing you want to test against. So like then you have to like, if you can't beat those, then you know why. You have to figure out why you can't beat them. Right. And like that's the best part about the group things, because then you can bounce ideas off. Because I know when I do group testing, I have 4 or 5 people, and only 2 people play the game. And everyone watches and like analyzes and like talks about plays, even middle of the game. Like I've dropped my hand so many times, like, what's the line, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's huge, and it's really important to have that.
The what's the line question, I think, is one of the best things to do.
Yeah.
I know, just being with you and traveling with you a little bit, just like when we test, the night before, and just drop the hand, say, what do I do here? Like, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. Like, what is the best line to success here?
So, like, I don't think, like, again, a lot of people like tunnel vision in this. You're not supposed to win every game in testing, and winning in testing actually matters none. Mm-hmm. Whether you win all the games or know the games, I don't think that would ever influence me on a deck per se, because you have to try to analyze why you're losing it. Mm-hmm. And it's more of getting a feel for, at least in the beginning of it, right? Like, unless the deck just felt bad. Like, if it just, like, inherently felt bad, then that's one thing. But if you're losing because, you just couldn't draw Abrupt Decay when you needed it.
Like my Soul Type pile that I was playing.
Exactly. Like, or if, like, you couldn't draw Abrupt Decay when you needed it, you missed a couple Force of Wills, or, like, you made a couple punts, like, that doesn't mean the deck's bad. That means you're just a little inexperienced or unlucky, in combination of both, and that's fine.
Yeah. I think on one hand, you don't just scrap a deck because of losing. On the other hand, you have to recognize when you should scrap the deck because you're losing too much. And that was something that was hard for me to realize prepping for GP New Jersey. And that's why we made that previous night change to the deck.
It was a whole new deck almost.
It was a whole new deck. It was a whole new approach, and that was something we need to do. And I mean, there was results that ended up because of that, like that shows changes, and that was because we were able to bounce ideas off each other. That was because I had already played so many matches with the deck and realized its faults and what it was weak to. And so sealing up by adding new cards and changing new cards, you know, you had that new feel, that new approach that, you know, and the fresh eyes are huge.
Yeah, like just having us and like the rest of the teammates watching it was great.
So I think, what's the next step after that? So you jamming?
So then I guess once you have like your last configuration of what you think that the deck is, you just start doing by yourself and just jam as many leagues together as possible. If you have access to Moto, or go into like local events. Like I know sometimes FNMs, they vary in the formats. You try to find the one that is the format you're testing, and just try to play anything like that. Just play as many reps at that point.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I think that while group testing is great, you just aren't going to get enough time in to be group testing the entire time. And individual testing is also important because you need to be able to play the deck individually because you're playing an individual event. While group testing gives you that other feel of, you know, other opinions, other eyes on the deck, other bounce cards off of each other. Once we get that final configuration down, just playing single games with just you, just your brain, just everything, just you playing is really important because that's good. When you go to that tournament, it's just going to be you. You're not going to have your buddy there to be like, hey, can I ask you about this? No, you have to understand your deck, and you're going to have to play it. So getting those reps with just yourself is very important as well.
Yeah, and I think also like in that last individual testing, like something that I do often is like, cause, well, I also, again, I have access to Moto and like a decent collection I could do this with, but like every league I'll try a different sideboard card.
Yeah.
Right? Or change a different flex spot and see like which one feels the best. Like I know I did it recently with 4-color with New Jersey. I must have tried 15 different versions, and I had probably 20 different sideboard plans.
Right.
And 8 different flex spots in the main. I just kept like turning around and trying different things until I got the most like the deck that I felt completely comfortable with. And that's like something also that you can learn in individual testing at the end when you have like the core 65, 70 cards ready, and you have like you need to find some of the flex spots to smooth it out.
Yeah, definitely. I think testing is really important. I think a lot of people undertest.
Yeah. Or overtest. So like there's under testing and over testing are completely opposite and completely detrimental to your plan.
So how is undertesting?
Undertesting is just you're not prepared, right? Like you just don't know. You don't know too much about ins and outs. Like when I was playing Rug Delver and Legacy, I could sideboard with my eyes closed every time because I just knew what it was, no matter what the matchup was. Like I knew how to do it. But then when you overtest, then you just start overthinking things.
Okay.
And then that's when like you put too much thought into a reason. Like, well, I think I'm only losing because of this card, but I think it's fine here, but it hasn't been great here. So let's take it out of the deck altogether. When that's just probably not correct at the same time. Right.
And there have eventually been times when people have overtested, especially like night before testing.
Oh,
like
yeah.
They overtest the night before. They change something drastic the night before. They do that last minute deck list change the night before or hours before, and they just get wrecked by it. I mean, it turns out well for some people, but I think the general amount of time those last minute changes, it's just overthought. Especially if you have lots of testing before then.
I think for an average player, yeah, it's completely accurate and a good way to look at it.
Yeah, not for the masters, but for the average player.
No, for sure. Like all those last minute changes, because then like it's a different sideboard plan in your head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you don't have enough reps with it, so you don't like feel comfortable with it, and you're just like, oh, questioning. And over 15 rounds, you're gonna have some, exhaustion, some mental exhaustion. So being able to fall back on those reps that you had and like that pattern of play that you had is very important.
Try to do like muscle memory at that point. Try to autopilot as best you can or when you can to try to conserve some like mental thoughts.
That's why I like having a good amount of testing, and that's why, especially for myself, being like not an like I consider myself very like averagey or a little above average, right? And like when I play with a deck that I don't feel comfortable enough with, I just get too exhausted because I don't have that free autopilot mode that I can engage on. Now, when I play like Affinity, for instance, which I've had thousands of matches with, I can just go autopilot on some rounds, and I can just get free thought. Yeah. Like I'm like, all right, this is this matchup. I know exactly how to sideboard. I know exactly how to play. It's pretty easy. I just remove this threat, this threat, and kill them. So
Right.
it's this very autopilot, and maybe I'll lose, but maybe I'll win, but it's pretty much autopilot. Now there are times when I slow down from the autopilot and take a hard decision on one turn, but having that autopilot, it saves me over 5, 10, 15 rounds.
For sure.
Like
And
that's exhausting. If you were thinking every minute of all 15 rounds,
Yeah.
you're gonna mess up because of it.
No, for sure. Like by even like in day one, by round 7, 8, you're gonna be like mentally exhausted, and like as long as you like if you're not eating or drinking water and keeping yourself like that too, like all the testing that you did do is not gonna matter.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's the prep beforehand, and then there's the prep like the day of, where you gotta, eat up. Like you have to make sure you're eating and you're drinking and you're like taking those breaks between rounds and just sitting. And
Yeah.
at least for me, I like to just like I actually do a thing where I walk around at tournaments and just talk to people between rounds and don't think about.
I do the same thing. I think we've done it at a couple tournaments ourselves. We
Yeah,
just walked
yeah.
around, just like hung out with friends that we've seen.
Yeah, and I think that's like is it relaxing because you need to relax from the tense like
The decompression that you like decompress from it.
exactly, and it's a lot of it's mental, right? A lot of it's that mental game, and I think that testing develops your mental for the game
Yeah.
because it preps your mental for this is what I'm playing, this is how I'm going to play it, and this is how I'm going to play it well.
Right.
And if you don't have enough of that testing, your mental's not prepped, so you're not going to be prepped for the actual tournament. So I think that pretty much wraps it up.
Yeah, I have nothing else to add, I think.
Like it's a process for sure. It has pretty simple steps that are very time consuming and hard to execute.
Yeah, but the thing is, it also varies for everybody. Too.
Yes.
Like, there's no set like time limit. Like, all right, you need 15 hours before a tournament of testing.
Yep.
Like, some people need it more, some people need less, and that's fine too. You got to find your way of doing it. You're like your perfect number, I guess.
I think you definitely need to identify your needs
Yeah.
when it comes to it. Like I know that I need a lot of matches in between changes. So if I change something on the deck, I don't want to give myself just like 3 matches and be like I'm off it.
Yeah.
I definitely want to, if I make a change, give myself, I usually do 10 matches. I usually like to give myself
Okay.
10 matches, and then I rechange it, because I overthink if I make changes every 5. So if I do every league, I make a change, then I have a hard time deciding on something. I like to do every 2 leagues for every
Whereas-
10 match.
Whereas I like one league
Yeah,
because I can have I can pick it up fast. Like, yeah, this is not what I want to be doing.
right. I usually like the 2 league process, which is it's just a preference thing, and
that-
it's identifying your weaknesses and your strengths. Identifying your weaknesses and your strength definitely leads to a better testing process and to a better result process.
For sure.
So I think that pretty much wraps up for this session of or section of or episode, I guess, of A to Z. One of those words probably fits what was
Let's
going
use all
on.
3. Let's use all 3.
Let's use all 3 at the same time.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for joining, and I hope you enjoyed. If you have any preferences or any topic that you would like us to cover, please message us or comment below, and we would love to cover that. We want to talk about what you want to hear, because
Yeah, for sure. No, it makes it better for everybody.
yeah, it gives us great topics to talk about. It gives you great things to hear, all that stuff. So, and we should have a guest on sometime soon in the next few. So we're gonna reach out and find somebody, which would be sweet.
Sounds good.
Find somebody, maybe do a little interview after they do well at the tournament or something. maybe you. Maybe. But that's not really an interview, is it? Because you're always here.
Yeah. Please, you could interview your co-host.
I mean, I could interview you and be like, "Why'd you do so awesome? Was it because of the testing?"
Yeah, it's because I tested a lot.
Oh, boom! Solved the process. Led to
There you go.
results.
Look at that.
Easy. And I think that's another thing too. Actually, I just thought of it. When your testing doesn't lead to good results, you have to analyze: was my testing wrong, or was it just I didn't get the results?
Yeah.
Because as you go to more events, you get to try different testing processes and find out what's best for you. Because everything in life, is tailored to you, what fits you the best.
Yeah.
Like there's a general process that works, but maybe there's a specific process that works just for you. So that is all for today. I'm Zane,
And I'm Zach.
and join us next time 4, A to Z.